with everyone on the same page, and with the endless opportunities of advancing technology, there's never been a more opportunistic or exciting time that I can think of when the technology suppliers, program owners, get together, help them, and really create something wonderful.
Welcome to Loyalty Stories, Antavo's podcast on customer loyalty and loyalty programs. I'm Charlie Hawker, Partner Manager for UKI, Benelux and Nordics. Antavo is a technology vendor that powers loyalty programs all over the world. We help various great businesses such as KFC, Benefit Cosmetics, as well as global automotive, fashion companies and other amazing verticals. In this podcast, Loyalty Stories, we dive into the trends around customer loyalty and loyalty programs. We talk to industry experts around the world to pick their brain to learn what's next for loyalty. Today's guest is Bob Salmasi from Bob's Loyalty Shop. Morning, Bob. How are we doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Would you mind introducing yourself and your business to the audience, please?
Yeah, my name is Bob Salmasi, and I've been working in promotions, direct marketing and loyalty for 30 years now. About 4 years ago, I decided to set up my own business, so I set up Bob's Loyalty Shop. And I work with clients pretty much globally, and I have three different types of clients. I work with loyalty agencies, I work with program owners, and I also work with incentive companies that are looking to bring new incentives to the market.
Fantastic. Nice broad range there. I'm sure we'll get some great insights today. So we'll kick off with hopefully an easy one. What's your favourite loyalty program and why? And it can be one that you've worked on. I won't limit you there.
Well, it's one I wished I'd worked on, but I didn't. And a lot of people would challenge it in terms of whether it's a loyalty program or not. But in the UK, we have an insurance aggregator called Compare the Market. And they created a brand called Meerkat. And what I love about them is the fact that if you look at insurance, it's a grudge purchase for a start. It's not something that we think about. It's not tangible. And it's not exciting from that point of view. And what they've done is they've created a character or set of characters, which are Meerkat. And they focused the whole business around that proposition. So in the early days, they invested heavily in toys. So if you bought an insurance product from them, you could collect a range of toys. And then when the world went a bit more digital, they dominated the market in terms of leisure and lifestyle. So now, their whole proposition is they'll give you just one cinema, every week. They'll give you discounted dining 7 days a week. They've even launched a coffee product, so you can get discounted coffees every day when you go to work or wherever you are. So not only have they made it exciting and involving, but from a value proposition, I mean, if you spend £300 or £400 on any insurance product, if you add up the savings you get back just by enjoying yourself, whether it be dining in cinema or having coffee with a friend, you more than get that back.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, really, isn't it? Because as soon as you think more and more about it, there's that subliminal loyalty that you're with them for the funny adverts that your kids enjoy and they get a teddy, but you also get to go out for a coffee or a meal with, wife, whoever. Really interesting. Yeah.
But it's also the bravery, but it's also the bravery because when you think about it, when they first started out, a marketing director had to go and present a business case where he wanted to fill up a warehouse full of cuddly toys. Which was kind of tested and untested, right? And they had to bet the farm on the fact that it would work.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it must have been, for an insurance company, typically fairly safe marketing strategies around benefits and just talk about your competitors potentially, and then heavily regulated as well to go, do you know what, we're going to do a Meerkat. It does seem, when you look at it objectively, it's kind of bizarre, but how well did it work? Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. So you said that's one of the ones you would have loved to have worked on, but you have had a distinguished career. So what would you say is the work that you're most proud of and why? And you can mention the client name or you can keep them secret, but love to hear.
I guess the two things, well, I'm going to put two in, I'm going to be cheeky. So the two things I'm proud of is I was part of the team that reintroduced McDonald's and Monopoly into the UK many years ago. And I had a 10-year relationship with Monopoly and very proud of that. But the program that I'm most proud of is it was a loyalty program for Nestle, which was called Get Set Go Free. And it was cross-category promotion. and it ran for 4 years in the run up to the Olympic in 2012. And it was a points collector scheme. So you could buy packets of cereal, or you could buy packets of confectionery, or you could buy any kind of Nestle product, and you collected points. But the important thing was those points could be redeemed for a completely free activity, sporting activity or leisure activity. So we went and recruited. Our part of the role was that part, the product part. So we recruited every year 5,000 different independent venues that would give you a free swimming lesson, free swimming session, a free golf session. At the top of the chart would be a free whitewater rafting session.
Wow, yeah.
So I'm kind of proud of that. We didn't come up with the proposition, but we did all the magic behind it.
Yeah. And that's sometimes the grunt work can be very, very rewarding for those sorts of things, isn't it?
Well, for me, I always think that loyalty is built from the reward up. So the reason I'm proud about it is because, FMCG is not a well-known industry for points. So back when we first started this journey in 2008, around 4 years, to run a loyalty program for that long in FMCG, and to get engagement, and to make sure that every year we went to the detail of looking at what rewards were redeemed and which ones are more popular, and swapping them out and refreshing them, and all the sorts of things you would normally do at a loyalty program. But it was also integrated with the other agencies, right? So, from which pack of cereal we picked up, you might have a specific reward on it because we could track that kind of stuff, So
yes.
So in terms of most proud, I think that for the mere the kind of sheer operational achievement, and also the longevity.
Fantastic. No, it sounds like a fascinating one to work on, especially with that kind of that goal of the Olympics and all of the hype that was around the UK in that 2012 Olympics, that endless summer it felt like as well. It must have been a fantastic culmination for it as well.
Yeah, no, it was good. So it's kind of, to sort of start out 4 years before that with your goal of kind of being recognised for being related to healthy sports and whatever, when, you're going to have a home Olympics, it's strategically, again, we didn't do the strategy. Strategically, it's very good.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. So if we bring it back to kind of broader and looking back around the loyalty industry as a whole, what are kind of some of the big changes you've seen in the loyalty industry in the recent years? And you're in quite a privileged position with this question because you see across those kind of three areas that you mentioned earlier. Great to get your thoughts on that.
So loyalty has become a much broader church. If we were having this conversation even 5-10 years ago, right? Your average person would have said, "Yeah, I know what loyalty is about. It's about points and prizes, right?" And it's about more than that. So I think if you look at just the different people that have entered the loyalty arena just in recent years, like QSR restaurants such as McDonald's and all of those people, it's become more important for them. Partner collaboration has become more important in the last 5-10 years, but I think that's also because it's a way of maintaining a handle on costs, right? So if you can offer value through partners rather than actual spend on points, that's always going to be a better option.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess more recently, it's everyone's kind of realizing the importance of first-party data. Yeah. And from a campaign perspective, it doesn't really matter what loyalty program you've got. Everyone's now approaching it from a point of view of how is this on a mobile phone screen? Because that's where most people are sort of consuming that kind of engagement.
Yeah, no, that's been a massive change. I think, when you say it's broader, there's lots more. They're far more accessible because we have these phones in our pockets all the time. And you'd think as you said, 10, 15 years ago, the brands that now have loyalty programs they didn't even have anyone even looking at loyalty. So yeah. It's become a big part of their business as retention kind of moves up that hierarchy. I think it's very, very interesting. So pushing you for a bit of, get your crystal ball out. Two main fresh trends that you think will come to the fore in the next 12, 18, 24 months? What do you think we're going to be seeing?
Well, I think I'm probably at this moment in time probably in the minority, but I think, one of the biggest trends that's going to come forward in the next 18 months is it's going to be more about creating and procuring, better content. I think loyalty programs are going to be, program owners are going to understand that actually their members are going to be demanding more content from them. And if they don't step up to the plate, their competitors do.
Okay.
And technology, technology is moving at such a fast pace. So I think the other focus and the other kind of area that I think is going to grow is, again, back to that mobile phone screen. It's going to be, number one, how do we get them to keep our brand on that mobile, whether it be an app or whatever? How do we get them to actually land on that real estate, which is like the most valuable real estate ever now?
Yeah.
Number two is going to be, okay, that if you look at all the stats about how quickly apps are deleted from they kind of uploaded, it's keeping it there. So the second part of that is anything that we do in terms of promotional loyalty, any kind of communication, we've got to make sure that we're delivering it in the best way that consumers want to consume it. And that's why you need to stay on top of it. That's why you need to be advanced in tech all of the time.
Yeah, because if I think about how I'd engage with loyalty programs on a day-to-day basis, it used to be a few years ago scrolling through your wallet for where's my Nando's card, where's my Nectar card, and now you're going through your phone, scrolling through. You can do a quick search by typing it in or whatever it is to find that loyalty program. So it's definitely evolved for sure.
Just to sort of push the point, if you go back 10 years ago when it was heavily email communication, and you might have been in a retailer for, say, or an insurance company or whoever, right?
Yeah.
If loyalty wasn't high on the agenda, then the loyalty message was at the bottom of that email. And that email could be a very long email. It can be, in some instances, to prove a point to clients, I actually printed them off and used to show them, used to sit together with tape and actually show them and say, that's where your loyalty message is. So yeah, I think people are really understanding now that it's not just about having access to people, but it's understanding how they want to have engagement with it.
Yeah, no, great. Okay, yeah, and you can definitely see that that changing for sure. And how do you think those trends will evolve? Because you've obviously the mobile first, but that's kind of the last 5 years have been heavily mobile first because we've had lockdowns, etc. Brands have been forced to engage with people at home a lot more. How do you think they'll evolve beyond that, do you think?
Well, I think there's going to be a greater evaluation of social media.
Okay.
Right. So I think the best way I can describe it is the focus for loyalty programs up until recently has been how do we acquire members. And I think what will change over the 18 months is it's not about acquiring members, it's about growing an audience. And when you look at channels such as YouTube, YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
I always laugh at this point when I have this conversation with people because in the same way that people used to think, I know what loyalty is about. It's about points and prizes, right? They go, I know what social media is about. It's about influencers and TikTok and all this kind of stuff. Right?
Okay.
And to a certain extent, it is at the moment, right? And it's working well for certain brands. But we've only just scratched the surface on this. And actually people are looking for, deeper content. They're looking for long form content. And they're looking to, they're looking for authenticity. They're looking for, to know more about your brand. They're hungry to know more about your brand. Now, of course, it doesn't work for everyone. Certain brands don't have a lot of story to tell.
Yep.
But you can decide, okay, I'm going to get into this area of lifestyle. I'm going to make it my proposition, and I will talk about that. So that it doesn't need to be extremely linked to your brand. You just need to understand that actually, it's about getting people to really want to work with you and really want to engage with you. And that's why it's growing an audience and not growing a membership page.
Yeah. And to build on that, I think there's definitely, it's audience first, and then it becomes community. If you see kind of the big brands, especially on YouTube, it's the comment section is unlike some social media where it's quite negative and there's lots of trolls in there. It's actually quite interactive, the YouTube comment section sometimes. So there is that sense of community with the audience.
Even with the trolls, right? I mean, what a great research tool. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a great research tool. Because, I mean, you can sit in as many focus study groups as you want to, right? But there's nothing going to be more real and authentic as people saying to you, I didn't particularly like what you did here, right?
Yeah.
And it might be one or two voices in the wilderness and 50,000 trolls, right? Depending on which brand you are, every brand, every personality, every TikToker is going to have trolls, right? That's just the way it is. So if you discount all those trolls and then look at that data, it's going to be, fantastically useful tool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's very interesting. Yeah, use the data. That's the big key, isn't it? Use it to your advantage. Feedback is a gift, as they say. And so when we think about how a loyalty tech provider could support with these things when it comes to like a feature set, what are the sorts of things that you'd want to see from a loyalty technology vendor moving forward?
Well, they're the old favorites, right? So, just from, if we look at sort of psychology and consumer behavior, right, we can go to all of our tried and tested means, which are, gamification, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But let's not forget creativity, right? So sales promotion was the sort of, birth point of loyalty. And I think it's going to be very much part of the loyalty mix going forward. So it's going to be a mixture of how can you take tried and tested mechanics, tried and tested rewards, right? Creativity and advancing tech, and tech is the driver, right? Because, there are only 4 things you can do promotionally with a customer. You can do, guaranteed reward, you can do competition, you can do et cetera, right? The mechanics, you don't want to create new mechanics because they're intuitive, right?
Yeah.
You want to adapt those mechanics in a digital world. But what's going to really be in the driving seat is a technology vendor who understands the mechanics and the rewards and focuses completely on how to stay with the audience and go with them and follow the trend.
Yeah, very interesting. So that adaptability to the future is key in getting that creativity. Back to your earlier points around kind of content being the big trend. If you want to keep that audience, that community with you, it's going to have to come down to content in the end. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to kind of say about any of the future stuff or any kind of thoughts that are kind of burning in your mind at the moment?
No, I mean, the good way to, or a good place to wrap up is where we started, and it's like, when you have been doing this for, nearly 3 decades, and you've seen the world things, it's exciting that loyalty has become a broad church. It's exciting that, people are understanding that all of these things need to come together. And they need to come together from a position of being customer first, mobile first, data first, right? So with everyone on the same page and with the endless opportunities of advancing technology, there's never been a more opportunistic or exciting time that I can think of when this technology suppliers, program owners, get together and really create something wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Well wrapped up, and kind of it's an exciting world to be in because everything we're talking about aren't kind of big problems that we have to face or anything like that. They're all additive to an end customer experience at the end of the day. So yeah, positive world to be in, the world of loyalty. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you very much, Bob. Really enjoyed that. That was fantastic. I think the best bit was definitely the Meerkats and made me really kind of reevaluate how I was advertised to, and being in that marketing boardroom with the CMO going, well, we're going to do Meerkats. I thought that was...
Well, do you know what? When I saw that, I remember turning to my colleague at the time, and I went, "Can you imagine the balls of that marketing director that went and said, I think we're going to sell those many policies, right? So I need to go and buy, 5 million Meerkats, right?
Yeah,
and they're a collectible set, so I need to get all of them.
You're right.
And I need to fill up a warehouse, right? And he must have sat there, and he must have gone, if this doesn't work, right?
Yeah. What do I do?
I've got a warehouse. Yeah, you can't even sell them, right? So I've got a warehouse full of stuff. those sort of things excite me because part of it is obviously research based. You know, you don't go spend that kind of money without doing the research, right? But ultimately, you are taking a major risk, right? And you are following new ground. So toy collectibles. I've just been doing this thing for the IMA, which I'm presenting in a couple of weeks' time, and it's about the history of all these stuff. And if you go back to the 60s, there was no end of coin collectors from petrol stations, right? So you collect 10 coins of the world's rarest cars, or you collect the English football team, or you collect, you know, whatever the theme of the moment. So it's a different world because we've for many years we've kind of relied on the fact that there are so many other options we don't have to forward invest, which then makes forward investing more scary than it's ever been.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is. Yeah, what's going to be the next new crazy thing that we end up seeing on our TV or collecting? Yeah, it's an interesting world for sure. So wherever you're listening to us on podcast platform, YouTube, LinkedIn, please like and subscribe to our channel. That way you'll get notified about the next episodes. Please visit antavo.com to discover more about your next loyalty software. Antavo is a next-gen loyalty program technology vendor used by global companies like KFC, Benefits, Cosmetics, and other global brands. Also, please reach out to Bob at Bob Loyalty Shop for any questions you may have for him. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.